Word count, approximately 1,000. The air on Valthera was thick and warm, filled with a scent like burning metal. Tom stepped out of the ship and looked around. The landing platform was made of dark stone. High towers surrounded it, shaped like sharp blades pointed at the sky. Everything on this world looked dangerous. Even the sky was a deep purple. Tom adjusted the strap on his back. It held a small pack, some tools, and an old blade. A short sword that had been in his family for generations. It looked simple and dull compared to the weapons the aliens carried, but he liked it. It reminded him of home. Valthera was not a place for peace. It was the capital of a warrior race, known across the stars for their strength and pride. But now, after years of war, they had joined an alliance. Humans were the newest members, and some of the older species didn't like it. Tom wasn't a soldier by training. He was an engineer who had served during the last war. He fixed machines, piloted broken ships, and fought only when he had no choice. But today, he was here as a guest, the only human invited to witness the games of the Circle, and maybe, just maybe, to prove humans were more than they seemed. Teveldaran guards met him at the gate. They were tall, with armor that shimmered like dark glass. Their faces were serious, and they said nothing as they walked him through the palace halls. Tom stayed quiet. He had read about this place, about Queen Varela, the ruler of Valthera. She was known not just for her leadership, but for her skill in battle. Some said she once fought 6 enemies at once and won without a scratch. Most leaders gave speeches. She gave scars. They entered a wide chamber filled with light. Alien nobles sat in high chairs, their eyes fixed on the center where Queen Varela sat on a black throne. She wore a silver robe, though armor shone beneath it. Her dark red eyes watched everything like a hawk. Her crown looked like it was made from the fangs of a giant beast. Tom stepped forward and gave a respectful bow. "So," the queen said, her voice smooth but strong, "this is the human they sent." "Yes, your grace," Tom said politely. She tilted her head. "You look small." Tom smiled a little. "I get that a lot." The court chuckled. The queen leaned forward and pointed at the blade hanging from. Tom sighed. "That little thing," she said, loud enough for all to hear. "Is that a blade? Or a toothpick?" The court burst into laughter. Tom did not respond. He only touched the handle of the blade and gave a short nod. "Tell me," the queen said, "what use is such a thing in a fight? Our blades are 6 feet long and made from the bones of storm beasts. Yours looks like it came from a kitchen." Tom looked around. Everyone was staring. He knew they expected him to feel ashamed or run away. But he didn't come here to hide. "With respect, your grace," Tom said calmly, "I didn't bring it to scare anyone." "Then why bring it at all?" she asked. He smiled. "Sometimes a small thing can make a big difference if you know how to use it." The queen's eyes narrowed. The court grew quiet. One of her advisors, a tall alien with blue skin and golden armor, leaned over. "Let him enter the circle. Let him show us this big difference he speaks of." A few nobles laughed. Some whispered. Others looked curious. Queen Varela stood up. "Very well," she said. "You want to show us what a human can do. Then tomorrow, you will enter the circle. You will face our warriors in friendly combat. No death, no poison, no tricks, just skill." Tom nodded. "Thank you, your grace. But be warned," she said, her voice rising. "Our warriors have trained since childhood. They have fought in real battles. This is not a game." "I understand," Tom said. She sat back down and gave him a sharp look. "Let's see if your little blade can sing, or if it breaks like a twig." The guards led Tom to his guest chamber. It was quiet, with a view of the sharp mountains outside. He placed his pack on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. He removed the blade from its sheath and looked at it. It wasn't big. It didn't glow. It had no fancy symbols or energy cores, but it was strong, forged in a time when Earth was still learning to walk among the stars. His grandfather used this blade to defend his home during the last Earth War. His father had sharpened it and passed it down, and now Tom carried it into the heart of a warrior empire. Outside, the sky darkened. Distant drums began to echo through the air. the sound of warriors preparing for the games. Tom placed the blade beside him, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, one step at a time. Approximately 1,000 words morning on Valthera came fast. The sky was still dark purple, but the suns were rising behind the sharp mountains. Their glow painted the palace walls in deep red and gold. Tom stood quietly in the circle, a wide, stone arena surrounded by tall walls. Flags of many warrior clans hung high above. Nobles and warriors filled the viewing seats. Some cheered, some whispered. All eyes were on the lone human in the middle. He wore simple clothes. His boots were dusty. His belt held that same small blade. Queen Varela sat on her high seat, watching from above. She didn't speak. She only raised one hand. A large Valderan warrior stepped forward. His name was Rock. He was almost twice Tom's height, with skin like dark bronze and arms thick like tree trunks. He carried a heavy curved sword, almost as tall as Tom himself. His armor shined like polished stone, and his footsteps shook the ground. "ROK bow to the queen." Then faced Tom. His deep voice echoed in the arena. "You sure you want this, human?" Tom gave a small smile. "I've come this far. Might as well see it through." Rock chuckled. "I won't break your bones, just your pride." The crowd laughed. Queen Varela nodded, and the sound of a deep drum filled the air. The match had begun. Rock moved fast for his size. He charged with a roar, swinging his giant sword in a wide arc. It came down like a hammer, aimed right at Tom's shoulder. But Tom wasn't there. With a quick step, he slipped to the side. The sword hit the ground, sending dust into the air. Tom spun and lightly tapped Rock's back with the flat of his small blade. Just enough to show he could have cut. The crowd gasped. ROK turned, confused. He swung again, harder, faster. But Tom kept moving, always just out of reach. He ducked, rolled, stepped back, stepped in. Then, without warning, he slashed. A red line appeared on Rock's arm, not deep, but clear. Blood followed. Rock roared in anger. "You cut me." Tom nodded. "That's what swords do." More laughter. "This time from some of the nobles." Queen Varela leaned forward in her seat, her expression unreadable. Rock charged again. This time, he didn't swing wildly. He tried to catch Tom with a fast, sharp strike. Tom blocked it with both hands on his small blade, the metal ringing loudly. The two fought for several minutes. Rock used power and reach. Tom used speed and timing. Tom never tried to win with strength. He let Rock wear himself out, then struck when there was an opening. Another cut, then another. One on Rock's leg, one on his side. None of them serious, but they added up. Finally, Rock stepped back, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his face. Tom stood tall, barely breathing hard. Rock looked at the queen, then dropped his sword with a loud clang. "I yield." The arena went silent. Then, slowly, a few claps began. Then more. Soon the sound of applause echoed. From all sides, Tom bowed respectfully to Rock, then turned toward the queen. Queen Varela stood. "This was not expected," she said, "but it was fair. The human has won the first match." Tom bowed again. "Thank you, Your Grace." Another Valderan warrior stepped into the arena, this one lighter on his feet, with two small axes. The queen raised her hand again. Next, Tom fought three more warriors that day. Each one came in with confidence and power, but none of them could land a solid hit. Tom moved like wind through trees, fast, smooth, careful. He didn't show off. He didn't speak much. He let the blade talk for him. Each time he won, the crowd grew more curious. Some aliens frowned. Others whispered to each other. A few even began to cheer. At the end of the fourth match, Queen Varela stood once more. "Enough for today," she said. "The human has proven he is not a fool." Tom looked up at her. "I'm not here to show off, just to represent." The queen raised one eyebrow. "And what is it you think you represent?" Tom looked around. "Earth, our people, our past." There was silence again. Then the queen turned and left the court, her robe flowing behind her like smoke. That evening, Tom returned to his guest chamber. His body was sore, but his mind was calm. He placed his blade on the table and cleaned it carefully. He could still hear the crowd's reactions in his mind, the shock, the applause. The slow change from mockery to respect. He didn't come to win. He came to show that humans didn't need giant armor or glowing swords. They had something else: experience, patience, and a long history of survival. A knock came at the door. It was a young alien servant, bowing slightly. "The Queen wishes to speak with you, alone." Tom nodded, stood up, and followed. Tom followed the quiet servant through long stone halls. The lights were low, and the silence made each step echo. Strange carvings lined the walls, warriors locked in battle. Blades in hand, creatures long forgotten. Every image told a story of power and pride. The servant stopped outside a wide metal door. He bowed and stepped aside. Tom gently pushed it open. Inside was a high balcony with a view of the glowing city. The stars above were sharp and bright, hanging low in the sky like silver coins. Queen Varela stood at the edge, her arms behind her back, eyes looking far into the night. Tom stepped closer, careful not to disturb her. After a moment, she spoke without turning. "You fight like no one I've seen." Tom stood still. "Thank you." She turned slowly to face him. Her crown was gone. She wore simple black armor now, not for battle, but still strong. Her expression was calmer than before, not cold, not angry, but curious. "For of my warriors," she said, "defeated by a man with a broken blade and quiet steps. They are not weak. So I must ask." Her eyes narrowed. "Where did you learn that?" Tom didn't answer right away. He looked over the balcony railing, watching a ship fly low across the rooftops. "My grandfather fought in Earth's last world war," he said. "He trained soldiers with nothing but knives and sticks. My father learned from him, and then passed it to me. I was never meant to fight, but I listened, I practiced." The Queen stepped closer. "Your world teaches children to kill." Tom shook his head. "No, but we teach them to survive." There was silence. The wind blew gently across the balcony. Far below, drums could be heard again, warriors preparing for the next day. "You move like water," Varela said. "No wasted step, no loud breath. You do not strike unless you must, yet when you strike, you do not miss. It's not power." Tom replied, "It's rhythm, timing. I learned that from old books, old films, and old warriors who never needed loud armor." She looked him over again, as if seeing him for the first time. "I thought humans were soft," she said honestly, "always asking for help, always talking of peace. But you are not soft." Tom smiled slightly. "Peace doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it takes more strength to walk away than to swing a sword." The Queen said nothing, but her eyes watched him closely. After a long pause, she pointed to the blade at Tom's side. "That weapon," she said. "Where is it from?" Tom unsheathed it and held it flat in his palm. "It was made from old steel, forged in fire, passed down through my family. It's not shiny, not smart, not special, but it never failed us." The Queen took a step forward and looked at it carefully. She didn't touch it, only studied it with interest. "You carry history in your hands," she said. Tom nodded. "In memory, every mark on the blade is a story." The Queen stepped back. "You have impressed many in my court, but others are not so easy to convince. They believe you are just lucky." Tom raised an eyebrow. "And what do you believe?" She smiled slightly. "I think luck only explains the first match. After that, you earn every strike." He gave a short bow. "That means a lot, Your Grace." She turned back to the balcony. "Tomorrow, you will fight again, stronger opponents, faster ones. Some do not respect rules." Tom's voice was calm. "Then I'll have to be smarter than them." The Queen's lips curved in a small smile. "That is the first thing a true warrior learns." There was another long pause. Then she spoke softly, almost to herself. "We once thought our blades were the sharpest in the galaxy, but perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps sharpness is not in the steel, but in the hand that holds it." Tom looked at her, surprised by the words. "You speak like someone who's fought many battles," he said. She nodded slowly. "I have, and I have lost a few, too." Enough to know that pride alone doesn't win wars. She looked at him again. You will stay in the palace tomorrow. You will eat well. Rest. The final test is near. And if you pass that, she paused, you might change more than just a few opinions. Tom understood. This wasn't just a game anymore. His victories were becoming a symbol, proof that humans belonged among warriors. Not just diplomats and scientists. I didn't come here to prove I'm better, he said. Just that we're worth respecting. Queen Varela nodded once. Respect is not given freely, but you have started to earn it. She turned away again. Hands behind her back. You may go now, she said. Prepare for tomorrow. Tom gave a respectful bow, sheathed his blade, and walked toward the door. Just before he stepped out, the queen called softly, Tom. He turned. If you had brought a bigger blade, she said, would you still have moved the same? Tom smiled. No, I'd have tried to be someone I'm not. She nodded thoughtfully. Then perhaps a toothpick is all one needs, if it's held with purpose. He left without another word, the sound of her quiet laughter echoing behind him. The morning sun rose slowly over Valthera's jagged peaks. Twin beams of golden light poured across the circle of warriors, casting long shadows across the stone arena floor. Tom stood at the center once again, holding his old blade quietly in one hand. His other hand rested calmly at his side. His eyes weren't looking at the crowd, or the queen's throne, or even the guards. They were focused only on the opponent now stepping forward. This one was different. His name was Kor, champion, taller than any warrior Tom had faced before. His skin was a deep gray, like the stone mountains around them, and his armor looked like it had been carved straight from the ground. The spear in his hand was twice as long as Tom was tall. It glowed faintly at the edge, not like energy, but more like heat trapped in metal. The crowd was already whispering. Many knew Kor. He was undefeated in the circle. Fast, brutal, smart. Some even said he once beat two rivals at once. Tom rolled his shoulders and breathed in deeply. He could already tell this would not be like the others. Queen Varela stood from her seat. This is not a test of pride, she announced. It is a test of control, judgment, and strength. These two warriors understand the rules. Let the circle speak. The drum sounded. Kor didn't wait. His spear snapped forward like a whip, aiming right for Tom's chest. Tom jumped back just in time. The spear tip missed him by inches, but the wind from it stung his face. He ducked low, rolled to the side, and came up to face Kor again. The crowd leaned forward. This wasn't a dance. It was a storm. Kor's next attack was faster. He moved like a mountain with speed. His spear struck again and again, fast jabs, wide swings. Sudden feints. Tom dodged the strikes, blocked the third, but the fourth caught his shoulder. It wasn't deep, just a scratch, but it burned. The heat from the weapon was real. Tom winced but didn't retreat. He shifted his weight, stepped to the side, and aimed a quick strike at Kor's knee. The blade made contact, but barely. Kor moved just enough to avoid serious damage. The fight continued. Minutes passed. Tom's shirt was cut in 3 places. His blade was chipped now. The edge had taken too many blocks, and one corner looked cracked. Still, Tom kept moving. He watched Kor's eyes, watched his feet, counted the seconds between heavy strikes. Every opponent had a rhythm, and Tom was learning Kor's. He ducked. Another slash and stepped inside the spear's range, too close for Kor to swing. Tom slashed upward, and this time the blade struck true, a clean line across Kor's side. Blood ran down the armor. Kor growled and shoved Tom back with raw strength. Tom stumbled but didn't fall. Now the crowd was louder. Some shouted Tom's name. Others called for Kor to finish it. No one looked bored. Everyone was watching. Tom circled slowly, his breathing steady. He tightened his grip on the handle. The crack in the blade was growing. One more hard block, and it might snap. But he had an idea. Kor charged again, spear low. Tom stepped forward. The crowd gasped. Instead of backing away, Tom ran toward the point of the spear. At the last second, he slid low to the ground, beneath the blade's reach, and came up behind Kor. In one smooth motion, Tom jumped, grabbed the spear from underneath, and twisted. Core pulled back. Crack! The spear snapped in half. Tom landed, with one piece in his hand, the other flying across the arena floor. Both fighters froze. Core looked down at his broken weapon. Tom looked at his blade. The tip was gone now. Broken off. Just a jagged edge remained. But it had done the job. The crowd rose to their feet, unsure what would happen next. Core looked at Tom for a long moment. Then he slowly dropped the broken spear. "I yield," he said. A cheer went up from the court. Tom bowed his head in respect. "You fought well." Core gave a small nod. "So did you." Human, from her throne. Queen Varela stood and clapped once. Then again, slowly, others followed. Soon, the circle was filled with applause. Tom sheathed the broken blade and turned toward the queen. She looked down at him with a strange expression, not just respect, but something deeper, thoughtfulness. She raised her voice. "You have passed the test, not because you won, but because you used your mind when others used strength. You showed patience, skill, and discipline. These are marks of a true warrior." Tom bowed. "Thank you, Your Grace." The queen stepped down from her platform. Her guards followed, but she raised one hand, stopping them. She walked alone to the center of the arena and stood across from Tom. "For many years," she said, "this circle has seen warriors of every kind, but today it sees something new." Tom stood tall, ready for what came next. Queen Varela looked him in the eye. "I will fight you next." The crowd gasped. Tom didn't flinch. "Then I'll be ready." The circle had never been this quiet. Even the winds of Valthera seemed to pause, holding their breath as Queen Varela stepped into the arena. She no longer wore her silver robe. Instead, she wore her battle armor, dark red, shaped like flowing flame, polished to a mirror finish. Across her back was a long, curved blade, longer than Tom's entire arm. She walked with calm steps, but everyone watching could feel the weight of her presence. This was not just a ruler. This was a warrior, one who had led armies, ended rebellions, and never been defeated inside the circle. Tom stood across from her, holding his old blade, now broken at the tip. The crack down the center was deeper than before. He knew it might not survive another match. And yet, he felt no fear. Queen Varela stopped at the center. The circle master, an old alien with a silver staff, raised his voice, by tradition. "And right, Her Grace, Queen Varela of Valthera, challenges the human warrior known as Tom. Let the circle bear witness." The crowd remained silent. No cheering, no whispering, only pure focus. Tom gave a respectful bow. "I accept the challenge, Queen." Varela drew her blade. It hummed softly in the air, its curved edge catching the morning light. Then, Tom surprised everyone. He reached behind his belt and pulled out another blade, nearly the same size and shape as the first, old, simple, but sharp and balanced. Twin blades. One in each hand. The crowd finally reacted. A wave of shock and interest ran through them. Queen Varela raised an eyebrow. "So, you brought two." Tom gave a small smile. Just in case the first one looked like a toothpick. There was a flicker of amusement in the queen's eyes. "Then let's see how sharp they really are." The circle master struck the staff to the ground. The match began. Queen Varela moved like a flame. One moment she was still. The next, she was already striking. Her blade came down with such speed that it looked like a flash of red lightning. Tom blocked with both blades, crossing them into an X. The force of the strike sent a jolt through his arms, but he stayed standing. The queen spun, swinging again, this time lower. Tom jumped back, then stepped in quickly, aiming a strike at her side. She blocked with ease, twisting her blade around his and pushing him off balance. Tom rolled sideways and came back to his feet. The crowd watched in complete silence, their eyes darting between the two figures moving like wind and fire. This was no practice match. This was a dance of skill and history. Tom knew he couldn't beat her with strength. She was faster than anyone he'd ever faced, and stronger. Every strike shook the ground. Every block tested the limits of his grip, but she wasn't untouchable. He saw the way her left foot shifted before a strike, the slight rise of her elbow before a spin. Every movement told him a story, and Tom knew how to read stories. He blocked high, ducked low, and sliced toward her shoulder, not to wound, but to test her reaction. She caught the blade, locked it, and twisted, forcing him to drop one of his swords. Tom stepped back with only one blade now. His breathing was heavy, his arms ached, but his eyes were calm. Queen Varela stepped forward slowly. "You fight with honor," she said. "Most warriors panic when I disarm them." Tom shrugged. "I still have one." He tightened his grip and dashed forward. The queen met him head on. Blade struck blade. Sparks flew. She swung wide. Tom ducked under it and slid to the side. He slashed upward. She blocked with the flat of her weapon. The sound echoed like thunder. The match went on longer than anyone expected. Minute after minute passed, and still neither had landed a true blow. Both were marked with light scratches, but nothing serious. Finally, the queen spun with a powerful strike meant to end it, a full-body twist that could have knocked most warriors off their feet. Tom saw it coming. He stepped inside the swing at the last second, reached under her arm, and pointed the broken edge of his blade toward her throat. He didn't press. He didn't cut. He just held it there, steady. Queen Varela froze. Her own blade was behind him, too far to help. She looked down at the dull edge resting near her neck. Silence. Then Tom stepped back and lowered his arm. "Enough?" he asked, voice steady. The queen stood still. Then slowly, she lowered her sword as well. "Enough," she agreed. The crowd finally breathed again. Then they rose to their feet, cheering louder than ever before. The circle master struck his staff. Twice. "The match is over." Queen Varela turned to the people. "Let it be known, this human is no pretender, no weak outsider. He is a warrior. His name shall be remembered, not as a guest, but as an equal." Tom bowed deeply. She turned back to him. "Your blade is broken," she said quietly. Tom looked at it, still cracked, still sharp enough to matter. "Yes," the queen gave a short nod. "Then I think you've earned a new one." The sun was lower in the sky now, casting golden light across the stone towers of Valthera. The circle of warriors had been cleared, but the energy still hung in the air like smoke after a storm. The match between Tom and Queen Varela was already being called the greatest duel the circle had seen in a generation. Tom sat quietly in a stone chamber, wrapping a bandage around his shoulder. The scratch wasn't deep, but his body ached. His arms, legs, and back all felt the weight of the long fight. His shirt was torn. His blade, the one passed down from his grandfather, lay broken beside him. Yet Tom didn't feel tired, not inside. He felt alive. A soft knock came at the door. It opened slowly, and Queen Varela entered, not in armor this time, but in a deep red robe lined with silver. She carried something long and wrapped in dark cloth. Tom stood at once. The queen looked at him for a moment. Her sharp eyes were not cold today. They held something else, respect. "You did more than fight well," she said. "You made us see clearly." Tom nodded. "That means more than any victory." She stepped closer and held out the wrapped item. "I said you deserved a new blade," she said. "This one was forged here on Valthera, from the same steel used in my own sword." Tom took it carefully and unwrapped it. Inside was a blade, simple in shape, not large or heavy, but smooth, balanced, and perfectly made. The steel shimmered softly, almost breathing with light. It was not a gift for show. It was a warrior's weapon. "It's beautiful," Tom said, "but I can't accept something so." "You can," she interrupted, "because it is not a gift, it is a mark of a warrior who has earned our respect." Tom nodded, then bowed. "Thank you, Your Grace." Queen Varela smiled faintly. "Get some rest. Tomorrow you will face one more challenge." Tom raised an eyebrow. "More fighting?" "Not exactly," she said, "but no less important." The next morning, the circle was filled again, not for a match, but for a ceremony. Hundreds of warriors stood in full armor. Nobles from across the stars gathered. Even the sky seemed brighter. Tom stood beside the queen, wearing a clean tunic, the new blade at his side. The queen spoke loudly so all could hear. Let it be known across the stars. This human came to Valthera alone, carrying a broken sword and no reputation. But he faced our warriors with courage. He fought with skill. He defeated strength with wisdom, pride with patience. She looked at Tom. For this, I name him Steelheart, a title not given lightly. He is the first off-worlder to carry it, and he has earned the right to stand among us, not as a guest, but as one of our own. Tom stepped forward and bowed. The entire circle echoed with the sound of warrior fists striking armor, a salute of the highest kind. But not everyone clapped. From the far side of the court, a tall figure in golden armor stepped forward. His name was Lorik, captain of the Queen's Royal Guard. He had watched every fight, and he was not pleased. He called out, voice strong and sharp, with respect, "Your Grace, this is too fast. We honor our past, not just one battle. Let him prove he can lead, not just fight." The court grew quiet. All eyes turned to the Queen. She did not look angry. Instead, she turned to Tom. "What do you say?" Tom looked at Lorik, then back at the Queen. "If a test is needed, I will not refuse it." Lorik drew the short blades and stepped into the circle. "One final duel. No weapons, just skill. Show us who you are without steel." Tom nodded and stepped into the circle. He handed his new blade to the Queen. The two men circled. Lorik was fast, faster than Tom expected. His movements were sharp and trained. He lunged, and Tom dodged. He spun, and Tom ducked. It was a different kind of fight. No weapons, just arms, feet, and reflexes. Tom blocked a kick, rolled under a punch, and struck with his elbow. Lorik grunted and stepped back. They clashed again and again. Each time, Tom kept his focus. He didn't try to overpower. He stayed calm, using every trick he knew from old lessons on Earth. Finally, Lorik lunged with full force. Tom sidestepped, grabbed Lorik's wrist, and used the warrior's momentum to flip him over his shoulder. Lorik landed hard on his back. The court was silent. Then the Queen raised her hand. "Enough." Tom stepped back and offered a hand to Lorik. Lorik looked at him for a long moment. Then he took the hand and stood. "You have earned it," he said quietly. Tom nodded with respect. The court erupted into cheers once again. Later that evening, Tom stood beside the Queen as stars filled the sky. "You have done more than prove yourself," she said. "You've changed how they see your kind." Tom looked up at the stars. "I didn't come here to change anyone. I just didn't want to be laughed at for carrying something small." Queen Varela smiled. "The size of the blade means nothing. It's the heart behind it that matters." She looked at him with deep eyes. "Tell me, Tom, what will you do next?" He thought for a moment. "If you let me, I'll stay. I'll help train. Not with big swords or energy weapons, but with rhythm, balance, and memory." She nodded. "Then tomorrow, we begin." Tom woke early the next morning. The air on Valthera was fresh and cool, and the twin suns were just beginning to rise. He stepped outside his chamber, wearing simple training clothes. His new blade, the one gifted by the Queen, remained. Inside, today, he didn't need it. He walked through the palace courtyard and into the open training grounds, where over 50 young warriors were waiting. Some looked serious, others looked curious. None of them had ever trained under a human. Before Tom raised his hand and spoke, "Today we will not train to hurt. We will train to control. Real strength is not just power. It's knowing when not to use it." Some of the warriors frowned. Others crossed their arms. One of them, a tall girl with bronze skin and silver armor, called out, "But what if we must fight? Should we not strike first?" Tom smiled. "Sometimes. But smart warriors know when to wait. If you learn balance, you'll win more battles than with brute force." And so, the lessons began. He taught them how to breathe calmly, how to move silently, and how to read the movements of others. He showed them footwork that came from Earth. Not heavy or wild, but smooth and smart. At first, many struggled. But by the end of the day, they were moving differently, sharper, quieter, focused. News of Tom's teaching spread fast. Within days, more warriors joined. Even veterans came to see what this human could offer. Some came to test him, hoping to prove his weakness, but they left with respect after seeing his calm strength. Even Captain Lork returned, not to challenge, but to learn. He approached Tom one afternoon and said, "I have trained under fire and steel for decades, but I never learned what you teach now." Tom nodded. "There's always more to learn, even for me." Lork smiled slightly. "Teach me to move like you." So Tom did. Weeks passed. The training grounds were full every morning. Queen Varela watched often from the upper balconies. She never interrupted, but she always observed. One evening, she invited Tom to walk with her in the gardens. "You've changed many things," she said quietly. Tom looked at the stars. "I didn't mean to." "But you did," she replied, "and not with war, but with wisdom." She stopped by a tree with golden leaves. "There was a time when Valthera won battles with fire. We crushed enemies, but peace is harder to keep than victory. What you brought here may help us keep it." Tom looked at her. "You trusted me when I had nothing, just a broken blade and a silly dream." She turned and faced him. "It wasn't silly. You came here when others would have run. You showed your strength, not by shouting, but by standing tall when mocked. That is rare." They stood there quietly as leaves fell around them. Later that month, a message came from the stars. A large fleet was approaching Valthera, not for trade or alliance, but for conquest. A race known as the Torvins, known for burning planets, had been moving system by system. They were coming. The queen called her war council. Generals spoke of shields, guns, and battle formations. But Tom asked one question: "Have they spoken?" The room turned silent. "No," one general answered. "They destroy. They don't talk." Tom nodded. "Then maybe they don't know you want peace." Queen Varela looked at him. "You suggest we talk before we fight?" "Yes," Tom said. "Sometimes war begins because no one stops to speak." The queen stood and made a choice. Prepare the defenses, but send a message first. Tom helped write it. It was simple. "We are not your enemy. We ask for peace, but we are not weak." The message went out. The fleet stopped. Then something no one expected happened. The Torvin fleet sent a reply, not of peace, but of curiosity. The leader of the Torvins asked for a single meeting. Tom offered to go. The meeting happened in space, aboard a neutral vessel. The Torvin leader, tall and covered in dark armor, faced Tom across a table of glass. "You're the warrior they call Steelheart?" The leader asked. "I'm just Tom," he replied. "I came with a broken blade. Now I stand for peace." The Torvin stared at him. "And if peace fails?" Tom stood and walked to the center of the room. "Then I will fight, but I'll fight with purpose, not anger." The leader looked at him for a long time. Then he laughed. "You are strange, human, but strong." And with that, the Torvin fleet turned back. The stars remained quiet. Back on Valthera, Tom stood in the circle once more. Not to fight, but to be honored. Queen Varela placed her sword on his shoulder. "You came here with nothing but heart, and now you've helped protect an entire world." She turned to the crowd. "Let it be known, the smallest blade can hold the sharpest truth." The crowd cheered. Tom smiled. Later, as he walked the empty grounds at night, a young warrior approached him. "Master Tom," she said, "why do you still train every morning? You've already proved everything." Tom looked at her and said, "Because training isn't for proving. It's for staying ready, for staying humble." She nodded, then bowed. "Will you teach me?" He smiled. "Yes, come at sunrise." She left, and Tom looked up at the stars. He remembered the queen's voice, the warrior's footsteps, the silent respect of 100 eyes. And deep down, he knew. He came to Valthera with a blade they mocked. He stayed with a heart they honored. And now, he would help shape the future, not with war, but with wisdom.